tufike mbinguni. E Mungu Baba, twakushukuru sana kwa upendo wako, kutubariki na kutupatia heshima ya watakatifu wa Uganda. Karolirwanga na Matia Mulumba na watakatifu wa Uganda, mutuombee kwake Baba Mungu, tufike mbinguni. Karolirwanga na Matia Mulumba, Mukasa Yosefu watakatifu, Ponsiano Ngondwe, Kagwa Andrea, Denis Cebual watakatifu, utuombee. Karolirwanga na Matia Mulumba na watakatifu wa Uganda, mutuombee kwake Baba Mungu, tufike mbinguni. Gonzaga Gonza Mawakali Noa, Musoke Javira watakatifu, baze kuketa buzabalyao, bana bachintu watakatifu, mutuombee. Karolirwanga na Matia Mulumba na watakatifu wa Uganda, mutuombee kwake Baba Mungu, tufike mbinguni. Ambrosio Chibuka irigwacho Anatoli Chiwanuka Chirewo watakatifu, Kizito Mdogo, Gaga Tuzinde, Luba wa Mugaga watakatifu, Karolirwanga na Matia Mulumba na watakatifu wa Uganda, mutuombee kwake Baba Mungu, tufike mbinguni. Adolf Ludigo, utuombee. Chiliwa Wamvu Mukasa, utuombee. Serunku Mabruno, utuombee. Yohana Maria Musei, utuombee. Childo Irwa,
Welcome to this year's journey with the Uganda Martyrs. Last year, we brought you their story through Reverend Father Joseph Mukasa Muwonge at the Uganda Martyrs Basilica in Namugongo. In this edition, we take you deeper into the story of the MUNYONYO Martyrs Shrine.
You are most welcome to MUNYONYO Martyrs Shrine. Let's go in and I talk to you about our three lovely martyrs.
Bordered by Lake Victoria to the south, Bulingugwe Island to the southeast, Gava to the east, Salama to the northeast, Buziga to the north, Machindye to the northwest, and Luvowa to the west, MUNYONYO is found southeast of Uganda's capital, Kampala. MUNYONYO is one of the 6 spots where the Uganda Martyrs were killed, together with Old Kampala, Nakivubo, Chamula, Mengo, and Namugongo. It was the place where they were sentenced and imprisoned before being taken for execution in Namugongo.
Where we are is the place where our martyrs started their journey from. It's on this very land where the king made a fateful decision to put all his Christian pages to death. After he had speared Denis Cebual, he came this side, held a court, called upon his Christian pages, asked them whether they were willing to continue with Christianity or to denounce it. He told them that those who are willing to continue to denounce Christianity, you are my good subjects, you stay on my right, and those who say of the Christians held the hand of Chistomto, who was the youngest, and went to the left, meaning that he was willing to remain a Christian. And so others followed. When the king saw that brave action, he was very disappointed. He thought he had scared them enough.
From 15th November 1885 to 27th January 1887, a wide series of executions of the Kabaka's pages were carried out.
So he shortly decided to imprison them here, and the following day they had to start their journey to Namugongo to die. And then very early in the morning, Charles Rwanga, the leader, decided to secretly baptize them because he knew, as a leader, he foresaw and knew the journey they were heading for. So Charles Rwanga, the leader, decided to baptize the 4 who were not baptized. This included Chizitomto, who was the youngest, Mbaga Tuzinde, Mugaga Lubowa, and Javila. I think this picture brings it out. We see Charles Rwanga baptizing one of the 4.
The very next morning, King Mwanga brought his whole court before him and asked the Christians to separate themselves from the rest of the court. He then asked them if they intended to remain Christians. When they said yes with strength and courage, he condemned them all to death at Namugongo, the kingdom's designated place for execution.
The picture on the stained glass shows the day of judgment. You see the king seated in the chair, pointing fingers left and right. So he was meaning that those who are willing to denounce Christianity, you are my good subjects, go to my right. And those who say you want to be Christians, go to my left. And so you see Christians who were going to the left, meaning that for them they are willing to stay Christians. Munism, and where we have our 3 martyrs. This includes Denis Cebual, Andrew Kagwa, and Posiano Ngondwe.
The first 3 Christians to render their lives for Christ's sake after the sentencing were Denis Cebual and Andrew Kagwa, who were killed at MUNYONYO, and Ponsia Nongondwe, who was killed at a lonely spot by the side of the road in Chamula near MUNYONYO, on the way to Namugongo.
Denis Cebual was a page boy in the king's palace, and he was brought in the palace by his mother. It was believed by that time that a mother of twins could heal chickenpox, and by that time there was an epidemic in the palace of chickenpox, so she was called upon to heal that disease. And when she came into the palace, Denis Cebual was put under the guardianship of Bali Kudembe Mukasa, our Christian martyr, our first Christian martyr. Bali Kudembe taught Denis Cebual all the roles done in the interior section of the palace. So he was trained to be the personal attendant to the king. And so during that time, the personal attendant to the king could be related to the current secretary. And his main role was to know what the king was going to put on, what he was going to eat, and his appointments. Yes. And now, on the day of his fateful death, the king had gone on a hunting expedition. And as he was there, things didn't go on well. He lost the gun, which he had inherited from his father, Mutesa. And this gun was golden. And he had gone to hunt a hippopotamus. You know, a hippopotamus cannot easily be caught. So when the king lost the gun, he was very disappointed because he knew he could not get the hippopotamus. Now, a person who had gone to hunt a hippopotamus came out from the hunting site with only 2 geese. And when he reached the shores, he met a fortune teller. And this fortune teller told him that, we knew that you had gone to bring a hippo. How come you've come with 2 geese? He told him, my gun fell into the waters. Then this fortune teller poisoned the king's minds. He told him that, you know what, King Mwanga, your father, Mutesa, made a very grave mistake of inviting the missionaries to your kingdom. You know, the missionaries came under the reign of Mutesa. So he told him that, you know, if your father had not invited these people, all these misfortunes befalling your kingdom would have not been happening. He told him about the kingdom in the palace in Mengo. He told him that it was struck by lightning simply because of the misfortunes brought in by the missionaries. He also told him about the gun which fell in the waters. He told him that, you know, it's because our gods are annoyed. That's why it fell into the waters. At the behind entrance of the palace, he met Denis Cebual. Denis Cebual had gone to attend catechism classes, but since he was the personal attendant to the king, he knew the time the king will be coming back. So he came to welcome the king from the hunting. So he found when the king was already furious. The king asked him, where are you from? He never denied. He told him, I'm from attending catechism classes. And then with all the anger, started spearing him. So very early in the morning, he sent an executioner and then beheaded him. His body was left for the vultures to eat them. By that time, once you are killed on the orders of the king or any other big person like a chief, prime minister, you could not be given the right of burial. He intercedes for poets and musicians because he was very creative. He was very wise. After attending catechism, he could compose songs, and to make it easier to catechize others. So it could be easy for him to teach others through songs. So that's why he intercedes for musicians and poets. Andrew Kagwa was a Mnyoro from Bunyoro Kingdom, and he came into Buganda kingdom as a result of raid. Before, during that time, these kingdoms, Bunyoro and Buganda, were enemies. Bunyoro could come to Buganda, raid out youths, because you know when you remove youths, the kingdom becomes weak, and take them to Bunyoro. Likewise, Buganda used to go to Bunyoro, raid out youths and bring them or sell them to the Arabs, because slave trade by that time had started. So that's how Andrew Kagwa came into Buganda. And when he came into Buganda kingdom, he impressed the king. He was a good drummer. He could drum well. That's why the king referred to him as his American drummist. He could sing and he could dance. So he impressed King Mutesa so much, and that's why he was retained in the palace. Otherwise, he was supposed to be sold off to the Arabs. And when he was retained in the palace, he stayed together with the prince now, Mwanga, who later became the king. And now after Mutesa died, because Mutesa lived for a very short time, Mwanga became the king. And you know, these people were always together, Mwanga and Andrew Kagwa. So they became friends. They used to share together. Even one day they were sent to Zanzibar to teach them how to drum. You know, privileges in the palace, even that time they existed. You can imagine being sent to Zanzibar to learn how to drum. And as they were there, Andrew Kagwa emerged the best. So the king loved Andrew Kagwa so much because he was very bright and intelligent. King Mwanga favored Andrew Kagwa so much. He gave him the best positions in the palace, like he was the head of the Bagoa Club, a big position in the palace. So all the favors which were given to Andrew Kagwa left the prime minister insecure, saying that this Munyoro man will one day take my position of the prime minister, because even the secrets were shared sometimes to Andrew Kagwa, not to the prime minister. So all this left him afraid. So now on the day of judgment, when King Mwanga judged and passed on his judgment to his Christian pages, Andrew Kagwa was not judged. Andrew Kagwa was not in the palace by the time of judgment, and the king got to know about it, but he never sent his men to get him, because he was his good friend, and he never wanted him to be killed. But when this fell into the ears of the prime minister, started asking the king why was Andrew Kagwa left out, because he was a Christian and more so a catechist, meaning that religion was going to continue spreading if he was not killed. But the king told him, excuse me, I cannot kill my American drummist. Of course, that was a false excuse. The real excuse was he never wanted to kill a friend. But the prime minister didn't see it. He continued pursuing his mission of killing Andrew Kagwa. And when he saw that the king was not accepting to kill Andrew Kagwa, he told him that if you are not ready to kill Andrew Kagwa, I'm going to connive with your enemies and overthrow your kingdom. You understand, people with power. King Mwanga favored Andrew Kagwa so much. He gave him the best positions in the palace, like he was the head of the Bagoa Club, a big position in the palace. So all the favors which were given to Andrew Kagwa left the prime minister insecure, saying that this Munyoro man will one day take my position of the prime minister, because even the secrets were shared sometimes to Andrew Kagwa, not to the prime minister. So all this left him afraid. So now on the day of judgment, when King Mwanga judged and passed on his judgment to his Christian pages, Andrew Kagwa was not judged. Andrew Kagwa was not in the palace by the time of judgment, and the king got to know about it, but he never sent his men to get him, because he was his good friend, and he never wanted him to be killed. But when this fell into the ears of the prime minister, started asking the king why was Andrew Kagwa left out, because he was a Christian and more so a catechist, meaning that religion was going to continue spreading if he was not killed. But the king told him, excuse me, I cannot kill my American drummist. Of course, that was a false excuse. The real excuse was he never wanted to kill a friend. But the prime minister didn't see it. He continued pursuing his mission of killing Andrew Kagwa. And when he saw that the king was not accepting to kill Andrew Kagwa, he told him that if you are not ready to kill Andrew Kagwa, I'm going to connive with your enemies and overthrow your kingdom. You understand, people with power. So that's when the king accepted to kill Andrew Kagwa. It was around evening time when other matters had started their journey to Namugongo. Andrew got everything. He was given, by that time he had also his place in the palace, like a home. He came waiting for his time. He was in full meditation, praying, waiting for his time. Since his other Christians had died, were willing to die for faith, he was also like, I'm also ready to die for my faith. So the prime minister sent his men to get Andrew Kagwa. He never gave them hard time. Very willing, he went to the prime minister. And the prime minister started interrogating him, of which most of the interrogations were mocking. But he told him, excuse me, I don't fear you, and I'm ready to meet my father in heaven. So the prime minister told his men, before I have my dinner, bring me the hand of Andrew Kagwa. That's why you see on his grotto, the arm is off. Yes. So after tying him on a tree and cut him into pieces, the prime minister told him to take him the arm, because he knew that since the king loved him so much, he could change his minds. But at least if the arm is off, he will be on the journey of what? Of death, because by that time there was no effective medication. Yes. So after he was cut into pieces, and after 4 days, the king left this palace after they had renovated Mengo. And when the friends of Andrew Kagwa got to know about it, came still in fear, got the remains which were there, came and buried them where the grave is. Yes. Andrew Kagwa intercedes for catechists, because he was a catechist, and also for teachers, because once you're a catechist, you are also a teacher. And also for people in the marriage institution, because it was him and Matia Mlumba who were first married, who were first officially married in church, in fact in Africa. Yes. Posia Nongondwe was a guard in the king's palace, and sometimes he could be sent out by the king to collect taxes. And the sources of tax by that time were cows and harvests. So Posia Nongondwe was killed in the afternoon of the 26th of May 1886. That's when our Martyrs started their journey to Namugongo. They reached a place by that time called Takajungwe, which is currently known as Chamla, and that's where they waited the chief executioner Mukajanga from. When Mukajanga spotted out Posia Nongondwe, he started falsely accusing him of having stolen his bull. But Posia Nongondwe told him, excuse me, I'm not going to die because I stole your bull. I'm going to die because I've accepted to die for Christ my Savior. You know, Posia Nongondwe, since he was sent out sometimes to collect taxes, he went to the house of Mukajanga and got a bull, not knowing that Mukajanga was a chief. So Mukajanga got annoyed, and that's why he spotted out Posia Nongondwe at the point of Chamula. But he was innocent. He didn't know that Mukajanga was a chief. Yes. So Posia told them that I'm even willing to die from here. kill me. Even if I go to Namugongo, I'll die. Even if I stay I'll die from here. I'll still die for my Christ. So you kill me from here. They killed him because he was very strong-muscled and fearful, and he could cause chaos. So they decided to kill him from there. Yes. After they had killed Posi and Ongondwe, all the martyrs, Catholics and Anglicans, started and prayed their Our Father prayer. And we are told that the faith and strength, courage they got from that time was overwhelming, that pushed them up to Namugongo. Because Namugongo means Mugongo. So by that time they reached, they were being pulled on their backs because they could not walk. But still they showed a lot of energy and courage. They never gave up, went on singing up to Namugongo. Posi and Ongondwe intercedes for all the law enforcement agents like police, soldiers, army.
The MUNYONYO Martyrs Shrine is now a thanksgiving monument of their martyrdom. The official groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the shrine that stands today took place on 3rd May 2015 and was officiated by the then Pope Nuncio to Uganda, Michael August Bloom, and Cardinal Emmanuel Wamala.
1964, sorry. So that cornerstone you see originated from the tomb of St. Francis of Assisi and was blessed and placed here by Pope Francis. This church was built in the year of mercy. That is 2015 to 2016. So this brick you see originated from the Papal Basilica of St. Peter the Vatican. This brick was used to close the holy door by Pope St. John Paul, who is now a saint, of the Great Jubilee year of 2000, and it was removed by Pope Francis. So, to open Jubilee Year of Mercy 2015 to 2016. This tree is called a Morph Tree. It existed by the time when our martyrs were martyred. And we are told that our future martyrs might have started their journey from here. So if it was a person, it could be telling us, and Kampala Capital City Authority confirms that it's the oldest tree in Kampala. This monument tells us what happened, shows us that the journey of the Ugandan martyrs started from here. We see the first and last men. Those were the killers holding pangas, spears, and swords. It shows that those were the killers. And we also see one of the men holding a Bible and another one holding a rosary. The one holding a rosary is representing the Catholics, and the one holding the Bible is representing Anglicans. And Charles Rwanga represents the Catholics because was the head of the Catholics, and then Mubia Azara for the Anglicans because was the head of the Anglicans. And the most important reason of this monument, you see the Catholic holding the back of the Anglican. It shows that these people were one, although of different religions, because they had decided to die for one Christ. They went on encouraging themselves as they were on the way to Namugongo, not Catholics to Catholics only, but Catholics to Anglicans, and Anglicans to Catholics, because they are dying for one Christ, Christ who is non-divided. About that spot of Chamula, previously known as Takajunge, when Posi Anongonde was martyred and blood started splattering everywhere, these people decided to pray Our Father, and we are told that the courage, the power, the spirit was overwhelming that took them up to Namugongo. They never gave up. Next we can go to Andrew Kagwa. There was a tree. They tied him on a tree, cut off the arm and took it to the Prime Minister, came and continued cutting him into pieces. We are heading to the grave of Andrew Kagwa, where he was buried after 4 days by his friends. This is where Andrew Kagwa was buried. After 4 days of his martyrdom, his friends came in fear, got the remains which were still there, brought them and buried him here.
Adolf Ludigo Chiliwa Wamvu Mukasa Serunku Mabruno Yohana Maria Musei.
What? When you cannot walk but being dragged on the back, but happy, singing, praying. To me, I think it was God's work in these people, and I think they were inspired by the Holy Spirit. Even I think somehow this executioner reached an extent and said that it's indeed God with these people, because we see Mukajanga dying a Christian and King Mwanga dying also a Christian. Truly, it was God's work. So we are heading to the church.
Adolf Ludigo Chiliwa Wamvu Mukasa Serunku Mabruno Yohana Maria Musei.
One of the significant reasons why this place of MUNYONYO is known is because of baptism. We see Charles Rwanga baptizing one of the four. This included Kizito Muto, who was the youngest, Mbaga Tuzinde, Mugaga Luowa, and Javida, before they started their journey to Namugongo, and he did it secretly. People all over the world come to MUNYONYO Martyrs Shrine and also Namugongo to pray through the Uganda Martyrs, and they also come with the testimonies these martyrs, our lovely martyrs, have done for them. They really intercede for us. If you have faith and you truly pray through them, they do what you ask for. Always feel free to come to Uganda, to this place, to have your personal prayers. We are going to Denis Cebual, who was speared by the king. And later on, very early in the morning, beheaded by an executioner. He's not here at the shrine, but near the roadside. Because for him, he was killed when he had gone to meet the king. For him, he was killed alone. In fact, that's what we should say. This place where we are was a palace, and in fact where Denis Cebual was killed from is also a palace, was the behind part of the palace. That's where the king used to pass to come to the main palace. So we are heading to Denis Cebual martyrdom spot, where Denis Cebual was martyred from. When they were constructing this road, the church asked the government to help put this flyover to connect the people to the church. You are most welcome to the martyrdom spot of Denis Cebual. Please come in and we share the story of Denis Cebual. Now, where Mother Mary is, that's where the altar. And then this one is where the congregation sits. Yes. And the other side, where you see the grotto of Denis Cebual, is where he was martyred from. We always have Mass at 10, Latin Mass at 10 a.m. in the morning on Sunday. And also, we have retreats. People with different groups can come for retreats. We don't charge any fee. But maybe if you want to donate to the church, that's when you can bring in your money. But we don't charge. We don't have a specific fee. This is the exact spot where Denis Cebual was martyred from. On the 25th of May, he was speared by the king many times. And very early in the morning, the king sent an executioner who beheaded him. And his body remains were not buried, were left here for the vultures to eat them. This is St. Ponciano sub-parish church. Is under MUNYONYO Martyrs Shrine Parish, and St. Ponciano was martyred right just opposite here. And we see Ponciano Ngondwe holding a spear, showing his work as a guard in the palace, and the background showing that by that time there were no fabrics. People used to cover their bodies by back clothes. Now I invite you to go to the martyrdom spot of Ponciano Ngondwe. This is the exact spot where Ponciano Ngondwe was killed as they were heading their journey to Namugongo. He was killed here because the chief executioner Mukajanga spotted him out, accusing him for having stolen his bull, which was not true, because for him he went to his home not knowing that he was a chief. He was just collecting taxes, and by that time the sources of taxes were harvests and cattle. Thank you for following the history of our Ugandan martyrs. Come, always come. This is your home. Always pray through the Ugandan martyrs. The place is always open from 9 to 5 p.m. Thank you so much.
chiliwa wamvumu kansa
utuombe
serunku mabuno
utuombe
Yohana Maria Musei
utuombe
Chi